What's up guys, Speed here, and today we're going to be talking about the top builds, except top goofy builds. Got you there. It's not actually the best builds. I already talked about that. I talked about the heroes I thought were going to be good in patch 7.24. We went over that. Now we're going to have some fun, right? Maybe you guys feel like Dota is a little bit stale. You kind of want to spice it up, and that is the purpose of this video. I've gathered builds that have been used in the past and some new ones I'm in theory crafting that I want you guys to test out for me and kind of just get a vibe if maybe they have some viability or not. Also, if you're enjoying content like this that you're seeing on YouTube over on the main gameleap website, I'm doing more content just like this one. I recently just made another pro replay. I analyzed the CCNC mid replay where he played Invoker, and I know there's a lot of Invoker specialists out there, so if you're interested in Invoker or just learning the mid lane, because another topic I talked about in that video is how to actually get farm when you are a tempo controller and not some flash farmer, right? How to actually scale when you're not playing a flash farmer. If you're interested in that topic, I recommend you check out that video as well. And now let's get into the first goofy build of the video. And that number one is going to be Aether Lens Pudge. And the reason why it's goofy is if you buy Aether Lens on Pudge, you should uninstall the game. This is probably the worst item build you can buy on any hero, and I just want to put this out there for reference. Do not ever buy Aether Lens on Pudge. If you guys do that and I see it, you're banned. You're banned from ever being part of the gameleap community, and you are not allowed to buy a gameleap subscription for the rest of your life. But on a serious note, number one, we have Manta Axe, and this is one that has been used in the past, and I absolutely love it. It's such a fun take on Axe, and I'm going to give you the entire item build right now. So number one, you're just going to be primarily buying some early game stat. I recommend buying phase boots, even a wand, 2 bracers, and then after this, no blink dagger, no blade mail, no vanguard, Manta. You buy a Manta. Now you might ask, Speed, why are you buying a Manta? Well, I'm here to tell you today that the Manta illusions get counter helix and they do the full counter helix damage. And so what you do with this Manta is you go into the enemy team's jungle, you send one of them to the mid lane, one of them to the top lane, or to jungle camps, and you flash farm with Axe. Now after that Manta, you can buy a Mjolnir, you can buy an Assault Cuirass, and these items are great because they enable you to do even more damage. In particular, I'm a huge fan of the Mjolnir on Axe. It's sort of like a blade mail because if you put the Mjolnir shield on yourself, then you call someone, and all of a sudden, they're hitting you, proccing the Mjolnir shield, which does 200 damage per instance. In fact, against heroes that don't do a lot of physical damage, Mjolnir is a great option because, you know, blade mail probably doesn't counter them, but Mjolnir does. In addition, Axe has an attack speed talent as well as an attack procs counter helix talent, which means you build up attack speed, you build up with the Mjolnir, obviously in the Manta, even the AC, and then you get this attack procs counter helix, and your illusions, not only can they proc counter helix with their spins, but they can also right click to proc it. So can you, and it's a lot of damage. Number two on the list is minus armor Tusk. If you're looking for fun, this is the build for you. I love minus armor Tusk. I've run this so many times only because Tusk is one of my favorite heroes to play because he can be so flashy. And the thing now about this sort of Tusk is that it's been buffed sort of over and over again, this playstyle, specifically through the talents. Reason being is that now you have a Walrus Punch stun duration, which makes Walrus Punch just a little bit better in terms of not DPS but control. At level 20 you have 100% Walrus Punch crit, and then at level 25 you have the 15% chance to Walrus Punch, meaning every time you auto attack you have a chance to proc Walrus Punch. And if you've ever seen clips of this, it is absolutely insane, and if you haven't tried it, I really recommend you do. So the item build, you can go down a couple routes. Treads are fine, phase are fine, but in particular you want to be buying stats in the early game and then move into the minus armor. If you're a real psycho, you can skip the stats. You can do the same with the Axe build. You can skip a wand, you can skip bracers, but these items allow you to take over the early game. And then for this minus armor Tusk, you're going to go into a medallion, not into Solar Crest, that's a bit too expensive for our liking, but after the medallion you go into the Deso, then into a Shadow Blade, and you walk around trying to one-punch people. And yeah, if you get enough levels, you can just literally one-punch the majority of the Dota lineup. It's really crazy. You can play this hero as a mid laner, an off laner, a safe laner. It can even be played support if you're having a good enough game. And yeah, so if I had to give one hero on this list my favorite build, or just the most fun build, maybe not my favorite, there's actually another one that's my favorite in a little bit, but the most fun build to run in Dota, it's probably this right-click one-punch Tusk only because of how satisfying it is. Next up is one that really gives me some nostalgia, probably not you guys, but it's mid Nyx. The reason being, I used to play on a team with a player who liked mid Nyx. For whatever reason, that was the case, and now Nyx got a small change, nothing too crazy. At level 10, he has an Impale stun duration. I don't think that's the reason why he can be played as a mid laner, but the reason why he can be played as a mid laner, partially, is this buff to his Vendetta now. I mean, even though he could be played as a mid laner in the past, this buff to Vendetta is really nice. It makes Vendetta bonus damage pure and not physical. Even though the damage was reduced, it wasn't reduced at level 1, which makes Vendetta do a ton more damage. And Nyx is actually fairly decent as a right clicker, and I'm going to recommend a few items now. Number 1, I recommend you generally go phase boots. Treads are okay if you want to swap through mana, and they can give you quite a bit of DPS, but the phase boots lets you kite in and out of fights and track people down, which Nyx can actually struggle with. After the phase boots, you can take advantage of the damage that you get from it and build an Echo Saber. This gives you some HP, once again to stay alive, and all the mana you would kind of need, because Nyx mid can struggle with mana. You're probably going to have to buy a bottle, clarities, and items like this to actually sustain your mana pool, but the Echo Saber is going to help out. Not only that, what it does for you is it allows you to Vendetta hit and slow. And now, why is this important to slow them on the Vendetta hit? It basically guarantees the Impale, so you don't have to buy Yules, you buy a right click at them in the Echo Saber, and now you can Impale at the same time. It's super cool, super convenient, and really, what's more cool is what Nyx gets at level 25. I guess I'll actually just go down the talent tree. I would probably take the Impale stun duration. Then, if you're having a really good game and you're snowballing, you can take movement speed. If it's a little bit more difficult and you need to tank for your team and be more utility, you can take the health. At level 20, I recommend you take the Impale damage to farm. And most importantly, at level 25, you want the 100 agility, because then you hit hard. So all you have to do is farm on a hero that can barely farm, which is why you probably don't see that much mid Nyx. But is it viable? Yeah, I would probably pick it with a hero like PL or Naga that I know I can make space for, because you will not solo carry as Nyx, but you will be able to snowball the early game a little bit and get a few of these 2,000, 3,000 gold items, such as Echo Saber, maybe then into a BKB or a Manta. You can even buy a Deso if you're crazy, and go on from there. Next up, we have Veno Jungle. This is just absolutely insane. Okay, I'm kidding. Relax, guys. Relax. But actually, next up is Moomin Speed Bounty Hunter. This build is just kind of funny in pubs. Reason being is that you can just kind of yeet around the map sniping couriers. So the main key things here are two things in particular: movement speed and observer wards. If you don't buy observer wards, don't go the movement speed build. Why is that? Well, actually you don't have to buy observer wards, but why is that? Because you need to snipe couriers. So it's very important that you're putting multiple wards down on the deep hills next to their base or even in their base and kind of run around sniping courier. You can put one in the mid lane, on the top side hill, bottom side hill, whatever it is, and scout those couriers. And because you're going movement speed, you just zoom around one-shotting them. It's really obnoxious for the enemy team to deal with. They're gonna chase you around, waste all their time, and you're gonna be having fun. And now the build is as follows: phase boots into drums, into a Yasha, into Yules, and then you can kind of go down different routes. You can go a BKB after that to just be a little bit more tanky. You can finish the Manta. You can even go down the route of a little bit more mobility and buy a Force Staff or even a Blink Dagger to be harder to catch and obnoxious for the enemy team, but I generally would recommend buying the BKB or the Manta to purge off the dust. And yeah, there's not too much more for me to say about this hero. I would say you can play this as a mid laner, off laner, or position forward. You do need a fair bit of gold, and you probably don't want your safe lane carry being the person running around trying to snipe couriers, so you're best off picking this as some sort of a space creating role. Next up is a favorite of mine, because when I was learning Pugna, I would go Dagon. I didn't know any better. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I can just decrypt them and deal like 800 magic damage with my Q and a Dagon. It's fantastic. Actually, I think it's more than that. Plus, you have life drain on top of that, and this build is straight fun. It's fun, and if you're trying to have fun, go Dagon Pugna. Literally, no boots. I'm not kidding. No boots. Do not buy boots. Don't buy a bottle. Maybe one null talisman. Actually, you could buy a bottle if you really want, but just rush a Dagon. You want to try to get your Dagon around minute 8, minute 9, and maybe even earlier if you happen to have 18 kills in the lane. So maybe you could try that out. Submit to me a game where you have 18 kills as Pugna within the laning stage, and I'll give you $10. And no, it can't be a private lobby, it can't be 1v1, it has to be a real game. But in all seriousness, I really do believe in this Dagon rush. Not only Sure, it is a little bit goofy, but it is actually pretty good. If you read Dagon right now, the build-up is fairly decent for Pugna. You can go the Thompson build when he rushed Vale at TI, which you guys probably saw in this True Side recently. He went the Crown, and then 3 branches. You can still do that, and the Crown will now just build into the Dagon instead. And when you get the Dagon, it gives you 13 intelligence, 5 all attributes, and its build-up is decent besides this absolutely garbage recipe, which is extremely expensive and probably the worst part about this build, but you do have to get it eventually. Regardless, you do 400 damage, which is essentially pure with Decrep. Actually, it's much more than pure, it's more even stronger than pure, and you one-shot people. After you get the Dagon, you can buy just defensive items, such as a Force Staff, a Glimmer, but probably what you're going to go is an Aether Lens. I wouldn't max the Dagon out right away. I would probably go Dagon 1 into Aether Lens, and then consider maxing the Dagon out after. And this build is really just a ton of fun. You just one-shot supports. It's really miserable for them to play. I literally, no joke, decrept the Dagon 5 to support, and they have perished. I'm not kidding. It's awesome. Now, the next one came from a gameleap member, so thank you for just kind of giving me your goofy build when I asked in the Discord. And this is side lane SF. I don't really know how I feel about it. I do think save lane SF is actually quite viable. I believe it was even picked in the major by TNC, if I'm not mistaken, and they picked it with Puck because they were trying to dream coil people and then fear them with the Requiem so that it would all snap. Pretty interesting combo there. As is, that's just kind of goofy, but actually legit at the same time. But SF safe lane is actually pretty decent, but what he was recommending is actually offlane SF. And what you do is you kind of go like a tanky sort of raised base build. The items that he recommended were a wand into Soul Ring, into Vlad's, into Greaves, into Axe. And yeah, this makes a little bit of sense. You kind of have a nice mix of tankiness, and you're obviously going to have no mana problems with the wand, Soul Ring, probably even Arcane Boots that will later build into the Greaves. Then you build up Vlad's to help your team. You could even substitute that out for a Helm of the Dominator if you think it's better for your team in that specific game. Or you could even rush the mech that will build into the Greaves, and then you eventually go into the Axe. And really, you can do whatever you want. Let's say it's a good pipe game. You could just be utility SF. Ever since his ultimate got the ability to fear in an AoE, he's been a fairly decent team fighter. Like, SF's actually pretty good at team fighting. It's not that bad. In a side lane, all you have to do is take Raise level 1 and buy a lot of mangoes. If you take Necromastery at level 1 and you try to lane as SF, you will not have fun. It's just an absolute disaster. And finally, for the last build of the video, this one is crazy, okay? If there's one build I would say be very careful about using because it's probably awful, it's this one, and that is Mask of Madness Lark. Now I'm hearing you. Speed. You're trying to ruin my pubs. Actually, yes, it's exactly what I'm trying to do. Thank you, Sherlock, for figuring that out. And now that we can move on from that, the reason why I think this is okay is because if you use it at the right time, it can be relatively effective. Also, how I see Mask of Madness Slark is it gives Slark the option to potentially take Ancients and Camps much faster. So overall, I don't feel like this is that bad. I know it's like, okay, if you use it wrong, you can't pounce out, you can't Q, you can't ulti, but the thing is, let's say you use them all at the same time, and then you build a BKB afterwards, and you have like Mask of Madness Diffusal BKB, that sounds pretty strong to me. You have a lot of attack speed, you're going to be plenty tanky because all you have to do is ulti and then Mask of Madness, and things should work out pretty well. This is what I'm planning on testing at some point, only because I'm afraid that I'm ruining pubs by saying it before testing it. But we gotta take some chances here at gameleap. Let me know what you guys think of these builds and builds that you guys have been going down in the comment section down below. I want to hear what you guys have been experimenting with, some different items, builds, heroes that you think are good in 7.24 because it's a new patch and we're all just trying to figure things out. And yeah, hopefully I'll see your responses. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. If you guys are excited for patch 7.24 and want to see pros play the heroes that are probably going to be buffed or that are going to be very popular this patch, go check out the gameleap website. Over there, we are having a 50% off winter sale right now. Guys, it's unbelievably cheap, so please click the link, and hopefully I'll see you there.